sometimes. All right, so we are going to today do some drawing, and I'm officially recording the class now. And in your kit, you will find a couple of different things for you to experiment that you probably won't get a chance to necessarily during our class. But there's a little pad, and this is if you want to make that into a flip book. Do you see on the other camera that you can make a flip? You could do a comic story, or you could do, years ago I've taught kids how to make something animate. So the moving dot, those of you might remember that. So that would work really well to make a little flip book. So when you put an image on one page and you slightly alter the next one and go like this, so it'll animate. It's just like old-fashioned animation.
Miss
Go ahead, Liam.
In that flip book that you gave me, there's a bunch of these really hard pages.
Yeah.
So there's these like regular pages, and then there's a hard page.
Yeah.
So it makes it difficult to flip.
Oh, isn't that odd? You know, nothing else, Liam, it actually might be a good thing, because what often happens with the flip books is after they've been flipped a lot is they lose their strength. So that might actually be a good thing that it's in there. Or you could pull it apart, Liam. I'm noticing that with mine too, and then you could make multiple flip books. The other thing you guys can do is you can take these apart if your flip book only has 10 pages, and then you could get a binder clip and put it on the end, and you can make multiple books. But I thought this is just sort of extra thing that you could do. The other thing you're gonna find, which is kind of fun, I just put these I put these little stamps in your book, in your packet, and I thought you might want to use them for some sort of creative enterprise. So I've had kids before use stamps. They'll make them into windows of a little house or a doorway. So it's up to you what you want to do, but they're pretty cool. I was really lucky to, was given a beautiful collection of stamps by Goodwill. I found these at Goodwill and I got this giant bag of them, and somebody had collected them. So you look at your stamps, they might come from Bolivia. One of mine is from Indonesia. They're pretty neat. Okay, the other thing in your kit, and this might be great for the McKenna kids in particular if they have to go for a long car ride, is these little books. And the book isn't done because I want you to finish it. But the idea of it is that there's lots of different paper in here, including, if you feel some of this paper, it's watercolor paper. So you actually could do a watercolor painting in the book. Or you could collage things into it. Maybe you could use it for the summer to record all the cool things that you do. Now, the only thing that you'll notice is the book isn't glued together. So that's your job. You could take a piece of string and just run it through the inside bind, and then just tie it on the outside bind, and it would stay together just fine. Or you could do some gluing, and that would keep it together too. So that was another thing that I thought you could do. You could also just practice your drawing. So that's what that book is all about. So before we change gears and start drawing, my intention for you with doing this art camp was that I wanted to give you a little spark. So give you some nicely selected or curated art materials that you could use to get some idea generation, okay, while you're at home and you get tired of swimming and doing that kind of stuff. So these things aren't meant to do right with me. They're things that you can do outside of our art time together this morning, okay? All right, the other thing you'll find is you might get a pencil, a couple pencils there, and there's my favorite eraser, which are these art gum rubber erasers, because they basically erase anything. And I thought we would take some time to draw two different kinds of owls. Does anybody know the difference between these two owls?
Good job. Let's see.
What kind of owl is on the bottom? That one is white.
Barn owl.
Yeah, it's a barn owl. Do you know what? We don't really have a lot of barn owls in Maine. Not as much as like a barred owl or a horned owl, a great horned owl. But I really love them, and I think they're really fun to draw. So I thought, and I always like it when they're doing something silly. Like, look at this guy, turned on the side and bending his head. And these are babies. So I always like the baby birds, the baby owls. I'm sort of a sucker for that. So I thought we would spend some time drawing some owls out and working on practicing our drawing skills. So your pencil should be ready. And what I want you to do, you'll see you have a little stack of paper. Use the cheapy paper first. That's the paper that just looks like it comes from a photocopier. Grab a sheet of that. And it just occurred to me, I'm gonna see if my tape, I think it's okay. I was worried my table was all bumpy because I've been using the same spot all week. So what I would like you to do is we're gonna practice making some marks first. Does everybody have a pencil? Okay. Can I have a sip of coffee? Parker, am I allowed to have a cup of coffee real quick? There was some good coffee made at my house this morning. Or is it that I just really needed it? Okay, here's your pencil. And what I want you to do first is, remember how yesterday before we started to paint, we started talking a little bit about making those little snakes? Well, we're gonna kind of get our hands warmed up a little bit too. And what we're gonna practice doing is a couple of different techniques. One is not that different than, can you guys see my, can you guys see my hands? I want to make sure. I can. Can everyone else see my hands? Okay. Yeah. So what I want you to do is we're going to practice doing a little bit of what they call shading, but I prefer to call it putting value down, okay? And we're going to practice making some different kinds of lines. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to practice making some very light line, which means that we are not going to put much pressure down. So make a light line that goes the whole length of your paper. And it can wiggle. And now I want you to do, Liam, are you going to join us, my friend? Come on, get started. Now we're going to go down and we're going to make a medium weight line. Not really hard, medium. It can go the whole length of the paper. Now we're gonna go heavy, and we're gonna put a lot of pressure down. So the pencil will get dark. Okay, so we have three. We have a light line, a medium line, and a dark line, okay? Now, when we're drawing, we have choices about what is the pressure of my pencil, how much strength I put into my pencil, okay? But we also have pressure, we also have choices about what kind of a line is it. So sometimes our lines are what we call connected. That means that it never breaks. And other times our line could be more sketchy or broken. So I'm making a line, and you should be trying some of these lines, okay? Now, we have a connected line, we have a broken line. We could also show some different ways of making things look dark. So the most common technique to adding value or putting some shading down is, watch this, watch my hand, okay? I'm gonna start really, really dark, the darkest I can. I'm gonna put the line over and over and over again. And now I'm gonna move the line out, and I'm gonna put less pressure down. And each time I move out a little bit closer to myself as I make this bunch of lines, I'm gonna go lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter, until the line is so light I can barely see it on my paper. It just vanishes. So you could practice doing that and do it maybe a couple times. And here's the other thing that you can do. You can make your line really, really light, so light that you can barely see it on the paper. And now go the other way. Go medium, hard. Medium, hard, and now start getting darker and pressing harder. Until the very bottom part is so hard that it's getting actually pretty dark. Okay, so our hand, yes, Liam? Oh, you moved a little dot around?
Yeah, I call it the ball. So it drops from the ceiling and it bounces.
Oh, that's so much
And
fun.
it actually looks really good.
You know, Liam, you got me thinking that what I should do is when class ends today, I'll send an email out to your to all the parents and grandparents that about making that animation with the moving dot. Because remember those great videos I had found of that guy? He had done all kinds of cool stuff. Jack,
Cool.
I think, Jack, buddy, I think you were there when I showed you guys that great video of that guy. Yeah. Didn't he do one of a rocket ship, Jack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Miss Helene,
Yes, honey.
I actually used something that I saw from a website that's called Khan Academy, and one of the classes in it is Pixar in a Box.
Oh.
And it has like a bunch of stuff about animation, and it does show you a couple things about art and stuff.
Really? I didn't realize Khan Academy did that. I will check it out, Liam, because my
called
daughter
Pixar in
Olympia
a
has been
Box.
using that for algebra. So I didn't realize they did other things with it too. I thought it was just a math program.
No.
Oh,
You
well.
have art on there, coding,
Oh, all right. Check
reading,
it out.
music.
That's great. Okay, let's keep going. So right now we have some different lines, and we've practiced doing some different ways of putting tone down. Now we're going to do one other little technique, okay? Can everyone on that same piece of paper make a box that has four squares in it? So I'm gonna make a big box. And now I'm gonna make it halfway and halfway. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're just working on getting our hands warmed up still. Does everybody have one of those little boxes? Parker, how's yours? Okay, so now we're gonna do is we're gonna practice doing 4 different ways of showing value, and then we're gonna jump into doing the owls. So the first one is what the old masters did a long time ago, like in the 1500s, when people were doing large murals on walls and ceilings, they would make a very big sketch that was like the size of the painting that would go on the wall. And these sketches were studied. They were often of people. And anyways, they had different ways of showing where the light and the shadow was. And one of the ways that they did was doing called cross-hatching. So what you do and we're gonna make, so each box is gonna be a little different. This one is gonna be called cross-hatching, and that means that 2 lines cross each other, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make lines that go across horizontally, and then we're gonna make lines that go crossing that, which is vertically. And then we're gonna make them go diagonally one way, and then diagonally the other way. Now, once you've done them horizontally and vertically and diagonally one way, and then diagonally the other way, you'll notice that your box is getting darker. You're filling it in, right? So if you do a ton of diagonal lines and they get closer and closer together, you'll notice that the spaces in between disappear and the lines, and then that area starts to get dark. So if they were going to draw like a person, let's just say, for example, an apple. Let's see, can you guys see my apple? It looks sort of like a bowling ball, but that's okay. But if I wanted to make it, say the light was coming from here and I wanted to make it dark over here with cross hatching, I would do my horizontal lines, my vertical lines, my diagonal lines, and in the darkest area where the shadow would be, those cross-hatching lines would repeat a lot. So it'd get very dark over here. Does everybody see that? Okay, so we did cross-hatching here. The easiest one is hatching, which is where the lines just go in one direction. They don't crisscross. And so you could just practice making horizontal, or you could do vertical lines. And again, the closer they get to each other, the more that they like each other, the darker the area gets. Okay, and in the other box, you could do this box here. You could do what they called stippling, or some people call it pointillism, but it's not actually pointillism. Pointillism is it's a style of painting, but this is actually called stippling with drawing. And so when we put little dots down, as they get closer together, do you see how it starts to fill in a space and makes it look darker? So these are all different ways of drawing. Now, what do you think we could do with this last box? Parker, you have any ideas? What do you think? How can we show value? Oh, that looks good. Nice, Liam. How can we show value in the last box? You've done cross-hatching, hatching, stippling. I can't hear you, honey. You're muted. You have to unmute yourself.
We could make a box tower.
Oh, yeah? All right, show me how.
Like, we draw a big box, then a littler box on top of it, and an even littler box on the top of it.
Oh, that's a fun idea. So each time they do that, they kind of layer, right? Yeah.
Kind of like a... I'm going to make mine into a cake.
I love that idea. It's great to come up with your, cool, Liam, your own version of how you're going to show value. My favorite thing that I like to do is scribble. So I like to scribble lines so that when I'm drawing, the scribbles, as they get heavier and closer together, show value. But a tower is a good idea. Okay. So let's move on and look at the owls, okay? You could either use the nicer paper, the heavier paper, or you could use, actually there's some medium weight paper. And the heavier paper I gave you, actually, my thinking was that you could draw the owl again, but then maybe do some painting. So you could use your watercolors from yesterday. Okay. So here's the nicer paper, and I'm going to look at the owl. Which owl should we do first, the barned or the horned owl? What do you guys, do you have a vote? Barn owl? Raise your hand if you want to do the, raise your hand if you want to do the barn owl first. Oh, I guess that's a vote. Okay, we're doing the owl. I know, it's so cute. Do you guys want to see something neat? I'm going to show you something. Hold on. I wish I had a barn owl for you in person, but I don't. But I have something else. Oh.
It's time to paint for me.
We're not painting yet. You're not using those paints. We're going to use
Check
different
this
paint.
out.
Okay, I've made this incredibly clear.
Oh, Charlotte.
Can you guys see that? So that's a painting I did of a barn owl. So what you can do today is practice drawing your owl with me, and then later on you could do a drawing that turns into a painting and do that with your watercolors, okay? All right, so let's look at the barn owl. Now, we can draw any of them first, and we don't have to draw all of them. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my paper horizontally because that matches the shape of the photograph we're looking at, okay? And I think I really like this guy. Look at how much attitude he has. He is turned, his body is turned this way, but his head is turned that way. And we can see that because his little beak and the center of his face here is off-centered. None of these owls are looking perfectly straight. This guy is turned this way. This one, his head is turned that way. And then look at this little baby, turned completely this way. So they all have a lot of attitude, right? Have any of you seen owls before in person?
Yes.
You have? Liam, did you?
Chewonki or whatever.
What was that, Liam?
Chewonki.
Chewonki, yeah. They have an awesome program. Jack, have you seen Chewonki's owls? No, no. They're pretty cool. You know, I've never seen owls at Chewonki. One of these days I've heard about it, but I've been really lucky to see owls out in the wild. And we have a lot that live
in the wild.
behind our house. Have any of you seen them right out, like in your yard? No. Well, they are around and you hear them at night. I hear a lot of them in the spring. Okay, I'm gonna change gears and switch to my woodless graphite pencil. I think I gave everyone like a fancy drawing pencil, at least one. And I'm gonna start working with that guy that I mentioned. He had a lot of attitude. And you could follow along or you could do your own thing with the owl. But I want you to keep in mind the different ways that we were drawing earlier when you go to draw your owl. You don't want to forget about what we were doing before. So we often are gratified by drawing the edges of things. So if we were to draw the edges of his head or the edges of his body, but actually that way of drawing is a little bit hard and not always the most successful way to start a drawing. So what I want you to do is I want you to study the owl that you're going to draw first. Parker, are you looking at the owl that you're going to draw first? And I want you to think about what's he doing? Which way is he bent? Where is he looking? Which way is his face turned? Which way are his legs? Look at the legs on this guy. You can even see the legs on them. What's sort of like happening here? And really study it for a second. And then I would say, before you draw any lines, to remember that a good drawing rule of thumb is to draw from light to dark. Because if we put a dark line down in the beginning, we're kind of committed. So when I like to draw first is I like to put some sketchy lines down that are pretty light until I'm feeling like I have like the gesture of what I'm drawing, the sense of what he's doing. So I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to draw very lightly the shape of his head, keeping in mind where his head is turned. So I could put a center line down the way his face is turned. And my line is so light, you might not see it. I'm going to keep in mind the shape of his body. And I'm going to start putting, and I'm keeping my lines that I'm putting down, or what I would say, they are elliptical. That means an owl is not a cylinder, but he's cylindrical. So what I mean is when we've drawn cups, like a cup, these lines here are what we call cylindrical. They are a squished circle. So an owl's face is, this owl, especially the barn owl, is quite circular. So I can do some elliptical lines. I'm going to put some lines here. And that helps them look three-dimensional, even his little legs. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start getting a little bit more specific. Now I'm going to do the outside marks, the outside lines. So the top of the barn owl has a part that is actually kind of flat. So I put that down and I'm gonna check. And now I'm gonna start putting those outside edges of his head. I don't wanna forget that I'm looking at how his body and his head is turned. And then we have that inside shape of his face, which is sort of like a heart shape. I'm gonna start mapping that in.
Owl man. The man that's an owl.
And then I could see where his little beak is right here. So that comes down from the heart shape. This is the heart shape. And his little beak comes right out of the center of the heart. But my lines are pretty light until I feel committed and feeling good about it. And then I might start to get an idea of where his little eyeballs go. And his beak and the area, I wish I knew what the scientific name was, of the hair that kind of goes to the beak. Look at the direction of the hair. It goes at a diagonal, almost out from his eye.
Great. So we'll get some paint after Harper's class.
And then look at the hair this way. It goes at the other directional. So you want to look at the direction of the lines. Are they horizontal? Are they vertical? Are they diagonal? Oh, Parker, you know what it is? I'm hearing I think your little sister, but it's fine. It's not loud.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's no big deal. I was just wondering if it was the McKenna kids, but it's not because they're muted.
I can just.
You're all good, dude. Don't worry about it. The thing that's about the McKenna kids, where it says Jane Orbiton, do you guys see the name? I don't know if you do. Those guys, their grandmother were like my other parents growing up, so it was kind of fun to have them. Okay, so I'm gonna put the beak down, get the beak in place. I'm getting the eyes in place a little bit more. The eyes, how would we describe them? They look kind of, the thing about the barn owl is the eyes have little, you should look at the eye really closely of the barn owl. At the corners of each eye, they kind of are squeezed. So there's an eyeball in there, but the eye socket on either side is a little bit squeezed, almost triangular. So I was trying to put that into my, trying to put that a little bit into my sketch. I want you to think about that little squeeze of the eye. So I read this great book about this scientist in California who was raising barn owls because there was a certain type of barn owl in particular in California that they were researching, but they were also endangered. And so she had a pet barn owl that she raised from when it was little tiny until it was a teenager. And it was really an interesting story. I think it's called Owlie. No, not Owlie. What is it? I don't remember. But the funny thing is the young woman who was raising the owl, she didn't have any children. And the owl, she had a boyfriend. The owl really disliked her boyfriend. So whenever he came for a visit, the owl would really flutter and get mad. And guess what? She didn't end up keeping that boyfriend. It was kind of funny. So animals sort of pick up on personalities, don't you think? They pick up on people's energies. So when you're thinking about what you know about these birds as you're drawing can actually really help your drawing. All right, so if you can see, I'm putting in some of the fuzziness of the owl, and these are broken lines, right? If I make all my lines connected, then my owl is not going to be very three-dimensional. So you want to make lots of broken lines, and you want to kind of be sensitive to be thinking about the direction of all those of the fur. Actually, it's really feathers, right? And that heart shape around the owl's head is quite dark. So when you're doing that, you want to make those lines darker. You want to make that little heart shape stand out. And you can make the owl's eye also darker. And we know that we get darker lines by putting the pressure, increasing the pressure on our pencil. And when you put a lot of contrast, darks and lights and different kinds of lines into your sketches is when they become more interesting and more three-dimensional. Okay, so I don't know if you've noticed, but I probably could draw all day. How's everybody doing with their drawing? Good. Jack, are you thumbs up, thumbs down? Are you doing okay? So you can keep putting in your owl. Now, one thing I did with the eyeball is I want you to show you something. I left a little tiny spot I did not fill in, a little highlight, because what I notice about all birds, in particular mammals, when you're drawing or painting them, you need to have that little splash of reflected light. So see the little splash of reflected light on that owl? Can you guys see that hands right there? See the little reflected light? You need to include that. So if you drew in the eyeball really, really dark, just go back in with the corner of your eraser and pull out just a little bit of that little highlight. All right, let's keep going with our owls for another like 3 or so minutes, and then we're gonna change gears and work on the other guy for a little while. Are there any questions from any of you as you draw out your owl?
Billy wants to know if you drew that owl that right there on your piece of paper.
This?
You're frozen. Hold on.
Oh, I am frozen. No, that's a photograph. That's a photograph. But
No, the other one, hold on.
The one you've been drawing.
The one you've been drawing.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was
Can
talking
you
about.
show us again?
No, I did not think that.
Can you show it to like your face one?
Oh, yeah, hold on.
Oh, we know one is a photograph. One she said.
No, I was talking about this one. I showed you.
Yeah, that's a photograph.
Yeah, that's.
Are you talking about this?
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, look, that she drew that.
Here, which one?
I thought you drew that one.
Yeah, I did this.
Lucy said you drew the photograph.
No, Billy, that was a misunderstanding.
That's right. No, that's just a photograph I have like from my inventory of teaching art for like 20 years. But yeah, this owl I did, that was really fun to paint. That's what the beeswax paint. Okay. I really love to draw, so I really hope that you guys can sense that, but hopefully I really love to teach kids how to draw. So, you know, drawing, you should really take your time. And the more you do it, the better you're going to become at it, just like anything else. So like riding a bike or flossing your teeth or whatever it is, the more you do it, the better you get at it. You don't generally get worse. So if you draw all the time, you're going to get better at drawing, right? Even if it's just 10 minutes a day, whatever you can afford with your busy schedules, drawing a lot, you're going to get better at it. You don't generally get worse. That's kind of impossible. So this little sketch I started, I probably could spend some more time doing, but the point of right now is to kind of get you started on something. So let's look at the horned owl for a second. And I want you to notice how it's different looking than the barn owl. I feel like these horned owls look like they've been surprised, don't you? They look like they were poked. They're like, whoop. So, and their bodies actually kind of feel that way too. You see how the barn owls are sort of slumped and bent, but the horned owls, their backs feel more straight and they're more alert. And they're also, look at what they're sitting on. They're sitting on, it looks maybe like a pine tree or a spruce tree. I can't quite tell. So, whereas the barn owls look like they probably are in a barn. So that's something to think about too, as you add details to your sketch. Where is your owl located? Where is he inside? Is he outside? Is he in a tree? Is he inside of a little owl house of some kind? Oh no. You know what happened, you guys? My phone is not charging, so it died. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that. And it looks like, I don't know where the McKenna's, oh, you guys are all still there. Okay, so anyways, I'm gonna just put the owl up here. So as you look at these owls, they have a lot different feel to them. They're not as bent and turning and all that stuff. So what I was thinking you could do now is, if you want to do a painting that comes from a drawing, you could use the heavier paper that is in your drawing packet, and you could start to draw out one of the horned owls. So here's my heavier paper, and you could draw out the horned owl, and I want you to think about all the things we already did. But one thing to think about is, if you don't like to see pencils lines in your watercolor paintings, then you can't make any of your lines too dark. Does that make sense to everyone? So you have to make your lines semi-light. So if we were going to do, let's say we're going to do the horned owl and make it nice and big. So it's this, we're just going to do one of them and do almost the whole size of the paper. Then what I would say is, let's just get the general idea of all the information we need to do a painting, and then you could start. And again, I'm not expecting you guys to paint with me today. It's just enough for you to get started, and then you could do it later this morning or this afternoon. So I'm going to just walk you through sketching out the horned owl. Remember that the feeling of this owl is that he's been poked and he's sort of alert and his back is straight and he's looking at you or looking beyond you, looking past you. And then the anatomy of that owl is a little bit different. He's got a fatter body, it seems like. I don't know. Barn owls don't tend to be that big. Okay, so the general feeling about the horned owl, his head, I would not say head, or his face does not have a heart shape to it. I would say his head is sort of a kind of a squished square. So we have down here, I know you can't see it because my phone died, but you can see down towards the bottom, that line has been flattened a little bit. And then the top part of our circle has quite a curve to it. And if you look at it, it actually kind of does this, okay? And what you might see is that the center part where the line, where the little circle caves in a little bit, is suggesting the center line where the horn is. So you can draw a center line and start to map in a little bit about where the eyes are, a little bit of where his little beak is. And look at his beak is quite a bit different than the barn owl beak. It's not nearly short like the barn owl. It is much longer. And we might put some information in about suggesting where his horns are. Can you see that a little bit? Okay. Now you might move down his body a little bit, and you'll notice that on either side of his head, he has not a neck, but it gets pretty thick in the neck area with his feathers. And as you move down his body, you might make that into a large oval. And remember, I'm keeping my lines nice and light, just enough so when I go to do my painting, I know where all the basic shapes are. And when I paint is when I put in all of the really, really specific details. So when you do a drawing just for the sake of doing a drawing is different than when you do a drawing just for the sake of doing a painting. Jack, I don't know what's so funny, but I love seeing you laugh. I can't hear you, Tandy.
I made a very angry looking owl.
Oh, yeah.
Because it looked so mad.
Oh my gosh.
You were also
It's
I'm
so
moving
easy
the
to,
eyes. I think that was my problem.
My
there.
owl's angry too.
your owl's angry. Yes. So this is kind of funny. Last year, I was on, well, I was not on a radio station, but they were talking about my paintings on this podcast radio station. And of all things, can you believe, they said, have you guys met Helene? She makes these great, really angry bird paintings and owl paintings. But they used actually another word, but I'm not gonna say the word because it's kind of inappropriate. But they basically said I would angry, angry bird paintings and owl paintings. Like all my animals look like really mad. And I was dying, and I was here, and I was in my studio, I was listening, and first of all, I was freaking out because they were talking about me, and then they were saying I made these really, really angry owl paintings. And I was like, ah! But it was funny. It was really funny. So it's very easy to make your owl look angry.
I noticed.
Yeah, it's really easy to do it. How's yours? Oh, Parker, that's marvelous. I love his little feet.
Hold yours closer.
Can you hold it closer, Parker? Oh, oh my gosh, Parker, that is amazing. You need to have your mom take a picture and send it to me. Hey, Jack, do you want to share your owl or your mom's?
Let's show mom.
If your mom doesn't
I
mind.
erased his angry eyes. So there's
maybe-
not much to see at the moment.
Just some angry eyeballs.
see.
Oh, yeah. You know what it is? It's sometimes when their brow intersects with their eye and you can't see
Yeah.
all of their eye, it makes them angry. That's pretty funny.
Yes, Jack's
Well,
looks much
that
more
is what
cheerful,
happens.
So he's still working on it.
Oh,
but
Jack, he's so cute.
Yeah.
He's so cute. That's so much fun. I think it's a lot of fun to paint and draw owls. I just did another owl. I just have this thing for them. I can't stop. I just, it's very enjoyable to do because you can sort of make them up. So you guys, you know, as you look at your owls, you can really improvise. You don't have to make them anatomically correct or look at that photo. You can just have fun with it.
I'm going to do a.
Do you want to see another little owl? Let me see. Let me go find another one. Oh, you could tell me if it's angry or not. Here we go. Here's another one. That is a baby barred owl. That's the kind of owl that says, who cooks for you? And they're really fuzzy when they're, well, all the owls are really, really fuzzy when they're babies, but this one is very fuzzy, very soft. It's a lot of fun to do. Okay, so we have about 5 or so minutes left. So what I would like to do is, you can keep drawing or you could just listen. What I would like to do is just review what we did today, or concepts that we did, and talk a little bit more about what you can do to continue what we're doing, and then talk to you a little bit about tomorrow. I can't believe this whole week has gone through already. Okay, so a reminder that before you draw any time is you should probably do a little warm-up of some kind. So it doesn't have to be like that formal thing we did with practicing our different kinds of lines, but you should do some sort of warm-up. And a warm-up drawing could just take like 3 to 5 minutes. And it could be just whatever is in front of you, just to get your hand and your eyes going. The other thing is, you want to also, when you're doing your warm-up, practice the different kinds of ways that you hold your pencil with how much pressure, and what kinds of lines you can make with it. And we spent time looking at the animals, and I want you to think about, what is it about the critter, the creature, or the thing that you're going to draw in terms of, in terms of the mood, or how it's turned, what's it doing, what's the environment it's in. All these kinds of questions will help you actually make a better drawing by looking at them. Okay. Now, when we're doing a sketch, a drawing that's just going to be a drawing, you want to think about your lines and how they have different directions. So our line could be horizontal, vertical, diagonal. It could be a scribbled line. And sometimes our lines will go really dark, and sometimes our lines will go really light. And those will all contribute to making a nice and interesting drawing. But when we want to do a drawing that's going to be for a painting, we don't put as many details down. We just put enough information down that will become a painting. And then that painting will, the painting process will do all the details. Okay? So those are things to keep in mind. Now, what I wanted to talk to you about next for just a moment is that if your little pot that you made with me on Tuesday is dry, that means when you touch it in your hand, if it's cold, like really, really cold, that means it's very wet, and you probably should wait a little bit longer to paint it. But if you put it in your hand gently, because it's still drying, and it does not feel cold, that means it's a good time to paint it. And when you go to paint your pot, what you want to do is pick one color that you have and paint the pot that color, the whole thing to start. And what that does is it acts as a primer, so that when you go to put your other colors on, they're not just completely absorbed. And you can use the paint from the Van Gogh kit. You should have plenty left that you could paint your pots with your acrylic paint, okay? So paint the pot one color and cover the whole thing, and then paint it any way you would like. The other thing is, if your parents or grandparents have some extra time, it might be a good idea that after you paint your little pot to put some sort of varnish on it, and a polyurethane of some kind, or polycryl works. Sometimes people have that in their house. If you have time to do that. Or if you have some Mod Podge, putting a layer of that on the outside is not a bad idea. Okay, now tomorrow we are going to be sewing, and you've got a kit with some different fabrics. You just untie this little tie thing, and in the bag you've got some buttons, some chalk, some thread, a needle, and some pins. What I would like you to do, if mom or dad or somebody can help you do it, I would like you to put a piece of thread through the needle and get it ready so that you're not waiting to do that tomorrow when it's time to sew. Okay? All right. I think that is everything that I wanted to go through with you today. I hope that was fun. Are there any questions about what we're doing tomorrow or any questions about today? I think I've lost people. I don't know what's going on, if their internet is gone or they're hiding. Parker, are you all set? Oh, he's hiding himself. I guess. Oh, you're still there, Parker.
I'm all set.
Okay. So, Liam, you're back. Were you hiding yourself?
Yes.
Oh, you're trouble.
I was listening to you.
Oh, thanks, Liam. Let me see, Jack. Oh my God.
That's one angry owl.
Oh my God. He's angry, but he wants to be hugged.
Yes.
He's a hugging owl. It's a new breed. Oh my gosh, Lucy, I am looking behind you. I think I painted that painting behind you. Did I? That is funny. That is so bizarre. Can you go closer to that? I think I did. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I did that painting, you guys. Isn't that funny? That is so funny. All right. Well, listen, it was fun having you today. I hope you have fun the rest of your day. It is beautiful out. Is anyone going to do something fun outside? Lucy, where are you going?
Oh,
We're gonna wash the car.
Okay, that'll be fun.
I'm going canoeing tonight.
Are you really? Cool.
Yeah.
That's really fun. Where are you going to do that, Liam?
What lake is it, Mom? The what? Tacoma.
Tacoma Lake. Oh, I know where that is over by Auburn. That's a beautiful lake. There's a little mountain on Tacoma Lake.
Wait, we're going to Auburn?
It's not in Auburn. It's just that direction. Well, you know what? Tomorrow when I teach the class, I'm going to be down by Mount Desert Island because remember how I said I had to deliver my paintings to an island? So this afternoon, after I get my work done here at the studio, I'm going to start driving there, and then I'm going to teach my class with you, and then go get on a ferry and deliver my paintings to a little island. So it's going to be a big adventure, but today I'll be here for a while. But I hope that you guys have a good day. So we're going to sew tomorrow. So what you could do, if you have some more time to do art today, you could make an owl painting. You could paint your little pots. But definitely make sure that you get your fabric stuff out, and maybe if you could thread a needle before class tomorrow. If not, that's okay. Tomorrow is going to be hard because I'm not going to be there to help you. But if you have Lucy's grandmother who could like sew anything, you'll be fine. So Lucy, make sure you tell Jane to thread a needle or two and get them ready for you. All right, I am going to upload this video up into the cloud. I hope you have a fantastic day. Parker, I love the ball on your head.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Jack and Candy, it was so fun to have you. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.
See you tomorrow.
Have a fantastic day. Adios, amigos.
Oh, am I waving?
Bye, Jack.